completely resonate with the whole no family holiday thing. It couldn't happen. The days that I'd be playing tennis, she'd pick me up, she'd not have a lunch break, she'd go and drive me to tennis and drive back to work. Tennis, well, eat, sleep, tennis, sleep, tennis. That was kind of the routine for me. The thing is, I think sport is such a hard thing and a hard career to choose because you do get knocked down so much. You could train 12 hours a day. That doesn't mean you're going to win the next match, and that's the hard part about it. But those little kind of victories that you have is what makes you then go up and do it again the next morning. I was really struggling in terms of training and not being able to do as much as I needed. So that was sort of when I got told that, okay, the journey's sort of probably over.
So we're absolutely delighted today to have former British professional tennis player Anna Smith with us on today's Elite Children, a Family Portrait, to share her secrets and sacrifices of her professional tennis journey so far, and much, much more. So Anna, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So thank you for spending the time with us, because I know you're really busy at the moment with your coaching and with your commentating. So thank you for finding the time to share a couple of your stories with us. Before we start, so the listeners can get to know you a little bit better, my children have come up with 10 quick fire would you rather questions. So because our eldest, Ava, is also a tennis player, we thought it'd be quite nice if she asked you the questions today. So I'm just going to pass you over to Ava now, and she'll ask you the questions.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
There you go.
So the first question is, would you rather read a book or play a game?
Oh, read a book, for sure.
Quite a lot of people said that, actually.
It depends what game. It depends what game, though. Are we talking like a board game?
Normally we say computer games.
Okay, then definitely book, for sure.
Would you rather win $1 million or earn $1 million?
Earn, definitely.
Would you rather have a takeaway or eat out, like go out and get the food?
Oh, that's a tricky one. It depends. If I'm feeling lazy, 100% delivery all day long. If I've got a bit of energy, definitely go out. Okay, I'll go out.
Go.
Would you rather listen to Drake or Stormzy?
Oh, can I say neither? I'd go Drake.
Would you rather wear Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Oh, same. Would you
Good
rather...
choice of jumper.
Would you rather own a Bugatti or Lamborghini?
Ooh. I would go Bugatti. I think they're a bit more, I don't know, they're not quite as common, are they? I think Lamborghini is a little bit more like everyone who's rich has one. So I think I'm going to go Bugatti, be a bit different.
Would you rather do cardio or weights?
Oh, weights. I hate cardio.
It's
Not for me.
Would you rather live out of a suitcase or travel or stay at home and not live out of a suitcase?
Oh, again, that's a really tough one because I did that for my career for like 16 years.
That's why we included that one. When we were researching, we read an article that you said you don't miss living out of a suitcase because of all the traveling and staying in all the hotels.
The one thing is, so it's so nice to get to go to different places. That's the one thing I do miss. You force yourself to go with your job because you have to. So I got to see all these amazing places because of it. So it's no, but I don't miss living out of a suitcase. No, I don't. I have to say.
Would you rather play doubles with Martina Hingis or Roger Federer?
Hingis, she was my idol.
And the last one is, would you rather play tennis or coach tennis?
Play, for sure. Definitely. There's nothing that beats it.
Thank you very much, Ava.
It's okay.
Right,
Thank you very much. Great questions.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Really good questions. Thanks.
So we thought we'd put Martina Hingis in there because, like you obviously said, she was your idol growing up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, she was.
I know from reading she was the first Swiss male or female tennis player to win a major.
Hmm.
But then I think she went on to spend, I think it was like 209 weeks at number one.
Yeah.
And then she spent about 90 weeks at doubles number one as well. So I know because of the crossover between yourself, I thought it was quite
Yeah.
kind of relevant there. And Roger
Yeah.
Federer is he's
He's
just
just
Roger
a
Federer, isn't he? He's like
he's
one of
just
the
a
kind of
legend. Yeah.
greatest kind of like players of all time. And
Yeah.
when you like kind
Greatest
of look at his
athletes.
stats, they're just like phenomenal. I mean,
Mm.
he did like, it was like 237 consecutive weeks at number one. He's
Yeah.
103 ATP tour titles, 20 majors. And I think from like kind of listening to the guests, I think with the two tennis players that we just kind of mentioned there, I think more than most, it kind of resonates with you how much kind of hard work and
Mm.
dedication kind of goes into achieving that kind of level. So yeah, great kind of idol to have, Martina Hingis.
Yeah, I was
Really
lucky
good.
enough to practice with her and
Oh wow,
play against her. So that was a very surreal.
that is
Um,
amazing.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a funny story when I first got to practice with her, but it was very cool, very cool.
Was you quite kind of nervous at the time, or
Um, do you know what? It was down in Eastbourne,
right?
and
Okay,
my doubles partner at the time, Jocelyn Ray, and I were going to practice, and we
yeah,
thought we just had the court to ourselves, and so
right,
just going on for a normal practice, and we went to collect the balls and everything, and the guy goes, "Oh, a pair have signed up to play with you if you don't mind," and I
right.
was like, "Okay, yeah, like no worries at all." And I was like, "Oh, just out of curiosity, who is it?" He goes, "Oh, Sanya Mirza and Martina Hingis, world number one
Wow.
pair at the time." And I just did like a double take, and I was just thinking, what? They've signed up with us, like they even know who we are. Um,
Oh,
and then obviously just casually strolled on the court, thinking like it was nothing. And actually probably played the best tennis of my life.
wow.
But she was lovely, and it was a really cool experience, and yeah, one I'll never forget.
Oh, very nice. Well, I know with so obviously as we mentioned, Ava, like our eldest, she plays tennis and she's training at Bolton Arena at the
Hmm.
moment,
Yeah.
and she quite often sees Heather Watson.
Hmm.
So she's not actually hit with her, I don't think. However, Ava said like she'll like kind of watch some of like kind of her sessions and stuff, and she's
Yeah.
just like one of the nicest people.
Yeah,
Ava
she
said like
is.
she's like kind of met. She always says like hi now, and she like kind of
Hmm.
ask her how she's doing and what kind of tournament she's been in. So it's just really nice that they're just kind of so like nice, just like nice
Yeah.
kind of genuine people. So stories like that are always really quite nice to kind of hear.
Yeah.
So right, let's get on with the show. So as you know, the podcast is to shine a light on the secrets and sacrifices all families go through to allow their children to become elite level athletes, and something that's really close to our hearts with having four children kind of currently on that journey. Um,
Hmm.
so my first question is, I'm always kind of curious to kind of hear what family life and the background of the athlete was like when they was growing up at home, and whether any of those experiences shaped any of the journeys that they're on today. So could you just kind of take me back to when you was living at home as a child, and when you was living in like kind of Red Hill in Surrey, and just explain to us what family life was like back then?
I mean, I'm an only child, so for
Right.
me,
Okay.
I was always out in the garden,
Yeah.
kicking a football around, playing sport. So for me, from as early as I can remember, sport was, my passion.
Yeah.
I'd have to say football probably was my first love. I didn't really get
Right.
into
Okay.
tennis until I was older.
Yeah.
So I'd always, as soon as I woke up, I'd go outside and kick a football around, whether it's on my own, with my
Right.
dad, with friends or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, there was always that kind of sport ingrained in me. It
Yeah.
just was something that I picked up.
Okay.
And obviously, as I went on through my childhood,
Yeah.
it got my passion got more and more.
Yeah.
Um, and then had trials for football, started playing tennis, and
Right.
then
Okay.
yeah, it just kind of went from there. There was never really anything else that I wanted to do.
Yeah. So did you want to become a professional footballer before tennis player?
Yeah, I
Oh,
did.
right. Okay. Right.
Yeah. So I was having trials for Wimbledon at the
Right.
time. So I
Okay.
started playing tennis when I was about 10.
Yeah.
I was already playing for just a local football team, and just I loved that. So obviously wanted to carry on, went for
Yeah.
trials with Wimbledon,
Wow.
Midway through the trials, my tennis coach at the time said, okay, you can't do both in case you get injured.
Yeah.
So I decided that tennis was the one, and I
Right.
stopped trials and got a call a couple of weeks later asking why I'd stopped. And he said I would have got in the team. So I guess my life
Right.
could have taken
Okay.
a very different path otherwise. But
Right. Okay.
I'm glad I chose tennis.
Yeah. So when you was at school, what age was you when you were kind of almost fully immersed into like kind of tennis, and did that kind of affect your kind of school days? Was you training like kind of before school, or did you have any time off from like
Yeah.
kind of school for that?
So I'd say it probably was from about year 9 in school. So kind of,
Right. Okay.
I think it was about 13, 14 years old.
Okay.
I came out of school about, I think it was 2.5 days a week.
Right. Okay.
So it was quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky that my school let me do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had tennis lessons in my PE lessons as well, so someone could
Right.
come to school and coach me instead. So yeah, it's from the kind of 13, 14 was when it was really like, okay, we're going to make a conscious effort now to really progress this and start to take it seriously.
Ah, right, okay. So did you kind of like sportiness, so to speak, with like say your football and your tennis? Did that come from your parents? Was like either of your parents sporty or from a sporty background?
No, nothing. So I think I'm not their child or anyone in my family, because there's no one in my family that is sporty in the slightest.
Right, okay.
So I'm not really sure where I kind of got that love of sport from or anything like that.
Right, okay.
They'll happily watch some football. Like my dad likes football, but
Hmm.
not played or anything. Mum, again, she'll watch a bit of sport on TV, but nothing crazy. And yeah, no one else in my family either. So I
Right.
was the only one
Yep.
who kind of had that passion or had that love of sport.
Okay. So was it so when you was doing your tennis, was your mum and dad kind of helping you like along the way? Would like kind of your mum or dad like kind of practice with you, or if they weren't from that kind of sporty background? I can
Definitely
kind of
not
get an
practice.
I can kind of guess what the answer is going to be from the
Yeah,
from the look on your face there.
yeah. No, I definitely not practice.
Right,
Um,
okay.
okay, when I was first starting out, I would always kind of drag my dad to a local park court and
Right.
just want to
Yeah.
go and play on a weekend,
Yeah.
or just I always just wanted to play.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's probably the closest to hitting with me.
Yeah.
But in terms of driving me around,
Yeah.
giving me their time, yeah, that they did so much of that. I wouldn't have been able to do any of it without them.
Yeah. And did they help you with regards to like say diet and like nutrition, or like kind of the psychology behind it? Because again, relating to Ava, because we never like kind of played tennis when like we was younger.
Hmm.
Um my background was more kind of football. My wife's was more like kind of dance. So when Ava got into tennis, she tried lots and lots of different sports when she was younger. She did a horse riding, she did a dance, she did a gymnastic, she did a swimming. She did a football as well,
Hmm.
and then decided to stick with the tennis. But because it wasn't our like kind of background, and because we'd only ever been involved in say team sports, we knew the kind of psychology behind an individual sport was somewhat kind of different. So we kind of found ourselves like reading quite a lot of like kind of psychology books, which we were quite interested in anyway, just to try and like kind of help her, try and like think of kind of tennis just slightly like kind of different.
Hmm.
Did they kind of do anything like that for you? That they
My parents.
Yeah.
No, to be honest, because
Okay.
I didn't think we knew the path to go on. I guess it probably wasn't necessarily something that they thought that I was going to go into.
Right. Okay.
So we were very green, I suppose, to everything, and we didn't really know, and we kind of just went off what the coaches said and the
Yeah.
advice that we were kind of given by them in terms of what path to follow, whether it be psychology, nutrition,
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
Okay.
So no, I guess where I trained in Sutton, that was
Yeah.
my first big centre I went to.
Okay.
Yeah, we just followed really the advice of the coaches and
Yeah.
kind of went with what they were saying and followed that path.
Okay. So with your like kind of tennis journey, we'd read that you qualified for like the junior Wimbledon, and you competed in like kind of numerous like kind of ITFs when you was younger. Would you say your kind of journey to being a professional, did you have to say like a normal childhood, would you say? Because we've had lots of different guests on now where they've been like, say, getting up early in the morning to like kind of train, or they've been going to bed kind of earlier than what their friends would be doing because they've probably just kind of finished a match or training. And then once they've like kind of refueled, they just want to like kind of have a little bit of a rest, and then they go to bed early. And we've had guests, so we had Tom Smith on, a professional cricketer who plays for Gloucestershire. And he said he never went on a family holiday because his tennis kind of season goes from April to September. So he never went on a summer holiday with his family. So we're just wondering, would you say that you had a normal childhood when you
No.
was growing up? Or, no.
In short, no.
Right. Okay.
I completely resonate with the whole no family holiday thing. It couldn't happen.
Yeah.
I think the last family holiday we took was when I was about 10.
Right. Okay.
So before it all kind of kicked off. But no, you do have, these are the things you have to sacrifice. And,
Yeah.
instead of going on family holidays, my mum and dad would take me up and down the country every weekend playing regional tours,
Yeah.
national match play weekends, things like that. And
Yeah.
during the week as well, my day was, I didn't have to get up early because I was going to school in the mornings.
Yeah.
And then my mum would come in her lunch break on the days that I'd be playing tennis. She'd pick me up.
Bless
She'd
her.
not have a lunch break.
Yeah.
She'd go and drive me to tennis and drive back to work.
Yeah.
Then I would play tennis in the afternoon, and she would then have to come back and get me.
Yeah.
But so my day sometimes didn't finish till 7:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to come back, eat, and then kind of do it all again. So yeah, there wasn't really any time for anything else. It was just
Okay.
tennis, well, eat, sleep, tennis, eat, sleep,
Yeah.
tennis. That was kind of the routine for me.
Yeah. And again, that's the kind of beauty of this podcast, and exactly what we wanted to try and shine a light on. Because, and again, probably from our perspective, as we've mentioned to a few other guests, we was always unsure of whether we was doing the right thing or whether we was doing something wrong, because we were feeling like we were just so busy, and the weekends we was always kind of traveling. The weeks are always like kind of training. Me neighbour, she doesn't start till lunchtime today, so that's why she could kind of come today, whereas yesterday she was training all day. And then we're going picking Ava up, but then we have two boys that play football, and then our youngest does activities as well. So we're constantly kind of coming in, going out, coming in, then going back out again. It comes to the weekend, and then everyone's got matches and like kind of tournaments, and you're kind of traveling, or we're spending like 2-3 weeks apart if Ava's away kind of competing. So I think sometimes it's not nice to kind of hear the sacrifices from the actual athletes, but as kind of parents who are on that journey, it's quite kind of reassuring sometimes to hear that is actually what like kind of goes into it, because when you're not in that bubble, you just never know. You just kind of see like kind of the professional athletes on kind of court or on the kind of pitch performing. You never see all those other bits kind of behind it. You don't see the kind of the hours, the days, the weeks, the months of all that kind of training and kind of sacrifice that goes into it.
No.
So it is quite kind of nice to hear from like kind of a parent's perspective. What would you say was your first like kind of wow moment in tennis? Do you know where you was kind of playing tennis and you thought, wow, this is I'm doing all right here. I'm doing quite well.
Okay, first moment. I would probably have to say the first time I played Wimbledon.
Right. Okay.
It's bad that I can't remember how old I was. I think I was 18 or 19.
Right. Okay.
And we got into the doubles. I think was I playing? I think I might have been playing with Georgie Stoop.
Right. Okay.
So we got another British player. We got a wild card. And yeah, we didn't get put on a big court. We got put on, I think it was court 19 maybe. But even
Okay.
so, it was that court next to 18, and it's the one where you can look over the balcony. So there's still quite a lot of
Right.
people there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we played, I think, Panetta and Stoza.
Okay.
And so it was the first time I'd really had any chance to play against two players, Grand Slam champion, and Panetta was been top
Yeah.
10 and again a Grand Slam champion as
Yeah.
well. So I think that was properly, I was kind of like, okay, wow, this
Yeah.
is what tennis could be,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I keep working hard and that trajectory. And yeah, there was a lot of nerves for sure, but it was also kind of one of those inspiring moments that was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is why I do this. This is why I work hard. This is a sacrifice my parents make
Yeah.
to make all of these things kind of happen.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say that one
Right.
was
Okay.
the first real big wow moment.
Yeah. And I think again from speaking to guests on the show, so we had Danny Evans on, so he's a professional basketballer. So he was on not so long ago, and he told us a story of when he was playing for Team GB. It was, and his first wow moment was when he went away. I think he was. I'm sure he was 14 years old, and they were staying in this hotel in Turkey, and they pulled up on like their coach, and there was loads of people like waiting outside this hotel wanting like kind of autographs. They had like security guards there. He said they were staying in this nice like kind of fancy hotel, and he said like that was his first wow moment of like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
how like kind of amazing is this like kind of experience. And like he said, it's those little moments where it does kind of put things into perspective. Like, do you know what, all this hard work and like kind of
Mm-hmm.
dedication and sacrifice, it is worth it. This is like kind of the reward for it. And it's so nice to kind of hear all the stories that like the different athletes kind of share, because it is one of those moments that it
Mm-hmm.
just makes you smile.
Yeah, no,
It
it
is really
does.
nice.
Yeah, for sure. It's the thing is, I think sport is such a hard thing and a hard career to choose
Yep.
because you do get knocked down so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's so many, not low points I would say, but there's so many challenges to overcome in terms of, especially in an individual sport.
Yeah.
It's all on you whether you win or lose, and how much work you put in is doesn't always mean that you're going to win.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
train 12 hours a day, that doesn't mean you're going to win the next match, and that's the
Yeah.
hard part about it. But
Yeah.
those little kind of victories that you have is what makes you then go up and do it again the next morning, wake up at
Yeah.
6 o'clock the next morning, get on court before school or whatever.
Yeah.
And those are the moments that you need in order to keep doing it for so long
Yeah. Yeah.
as well. So yeah, it's those are the little victories.
Okay. So from holding 29 titles to your name, including playing at Wimbledon, like you mentioned, you also played at the Australian Open, represented Great Britain at the Fed Cup
Mm-hmm.
five times. All amazing like achievements in their own right, and something that yourself and like kind of family and friends will be like kind of so proud of. We have kind of touched on it. However, I'm sure there's been like many like kind of times where there has been like kind of setbacks. And how do you actually kind of cope with the kind of peaks and troughs? Because obviously it's not a straight kind of trajectory. It's probably a little bit kind of scrambled up and downs
Mm-hmm.
along the way. How do you personally cope with those setbacks?
Um, I mean, for me, a lot of the setbacks throughout my career have been injury related.
Right. Okay.
I've probably spent about 5 years of my career injured.
Okay.
Um, I've had I've had 9 knee operations. I need to have another
Wow.
one. I've had 2 foot operations. So for me, that those were kind of probably the more challenging things to have to deal with.
Okay.
And I think first and foremost, you have to have good people around you. You
Yeah.
have to have your family and the support from them, friends, and
Okay.
things like that. And
Yeah.
I suppose it's trying to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And it's so hard when you're in that moment and you just feel the low of,
Yeah.
whether it be a loss or training's getting you down, or, you're missing out on things. And
Yeah.
um, if you have that support system around you, it makes things so much easier. And you
Yeah.
just, I suppose you kind of have to try and take yourself out of the moment and just realize it's just that moment and try
Yeah.
and see the bigger picture,
Yeah. Okay.
which is a lot easier
Yeah.
said than done in that moment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think for me, the people around me, they make all the difference.
Yeah. So was there any point in your journey with all the injuries that that you felt like giving up, or was that never like kind of an option for you?
I think there was probably, I think the initial injury I had
Yeah.
when I kind of had a stress fracture in my foot,
Okay.
I knew that I would come back from that.
Yeah.
So that, that was never in question. And then I kind of had knee problems that came off the back of that.
Okay.
And they said that was a kind of a chronic thing. So it was just going to be something I managed, but it wasn't career threatening or anything
Yeah.
like that. It it got to the point where later on in my career, I think it was, 2018 that I had my first knee operation,
Okay.
and that was meant to extend my career. Um, so I had that in the hope of prolonging it, and then kind of all the things that came from it spiraled from that.
Right. Okay.
Um, and then I got told basically at the end of 2020 um, that I had this huge hole and I had not much cartilage left in one of my knees.
Yeah.
And they were like, I was really struggling in terms of training and
Yeah.
not being able to do as much as I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So that was sort of when I got told that, okay, the journey's sort of probably over.
Yeah. Okay. And that's when you got into your coaching and like your commentating.
Yeah.
Was that the reason? Obviously, you still wanted to be involved in like kind of tennis and the
Hmm.
sport that you were so kind of passionate about. Is that the reason then, because of your injuries, you got into your kind of coaching and like your commentating?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I always thought that I would like to give back to tennis or stay in tennis because it's
Yeah.
obviously been such a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And then, this kind of it sort of went that way anyway, and commentary came up, and
Yeah.
I got the chance to do some stuff with the LTA, and
Yeah.
um, I just sort of really enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to stay in it, and it was still my way of kind of keeping in touch with the game, and
Yeah.
being able to hopefully pass on some of the experiences that I've
Yeah.
had, and
Yeah.
kind of help the younger generation a little
Yeah.
bit.
I think, and again, exactly what you've just said there. I think from speaking to previous kind of guests who have either set up their own academies or are doing like kind of project work or working for, like, say, the governing bodies. I think it's so important for the kind of younger generation to actually physically kind of see, like former professionals who can kind of offer the advice and the feedback, because they physically like kind of been on that journey themselves, the kind of stories that they've kind of experienced and all the sacrifices that we've kind of spoke about today. They're obviously a little bit more kind of real, and it can kind of resonate with the children a little bit more. So any work that the athletes can kind of do in like kind of giving back is amazing for the future generation. Um,
Yeah.
so when you look back on your career, of all the kind of highs and lows, both kind of physically and mentally, would you say climbing the mountain has been worth the view?
Yeah,
Yeah.
10 times over for
Right.
sure.
Okay.
I think all of the experiences that I've had, life experiences that I've had, people that I've been able to meet, places that I've been able to go, I never would
Yeah.
have if I hadn't played tennis or picked up a racket. So I think, you know, when I talk to, just people about kind of my journey and what I've done, they just are like, oh my gosh, like you've done all that. And I
Yeah.
think it's easy as an athlete to sort of not be able to take a step back and kind of think about it because you're like, well, I started traveling the world and I was away from home when I was 16 years old, and people
Yeah.
are just starting to go to college and
Yeah. Yeah.
things like that. And yeah, I mean, 100 times I would do this over and over again if I could, despite all of the hardships and everything,
Yeah.
because I think it teaches you so many life lessons that you wouldn't have just by, going to school or
Yeah.
college or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I think all of the lessons that I've learned have kind of shaped me into the person that I am today.
Yeah. And there's so many like transferable skills as well, isn't there? So from your kind of professional tennis career to going into like say the commentating or the kind of coaching, there's so many things that can kind of cross over anyway that can be like amazing foundations for your next kind of chapter along
Yeah.
the way. So
But also you kind of see so many professional athletes going into all different fields because
yeah,
I think so many employees or bosses
Yeah.
realize how many qualities that athletes, or I think
Oh,
ex-military as
100%.
well,
Yeah, yeah,
that can transfer, that someone, just because they have a university degree doesn't mean they have those other skills.
yeah,
So you see so many of those people going into completely different walks of life, whether it's banking or,
yeah,
whatever it may be. So
yeah,
yeah, I think it's invaluable what it has taught me, and taught other athletes
yeah.
as well.
I think those kind of personal traits, like the resilience, the dedication, the motivation, they're all like kind of amazing kind of characteristics can that can't always be kind of taught, like you
Hmm.
kind of said. So to kind of have those attributes going into a company, then it's great for that individual company to have them on board. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Um, so at the end of every show, we have a tradition, and I've been asking all our guests if they have any go-to quotes or philosophies that they've kind of stood by throughout their journey or they use on a daily basis. And ones in the past have been like, be where your feet are, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, focus on the process, not the outcome. So I was just wondering whether you had any kind of similar kind of quotes that you could share with us today that you might have used in the past or still use
Um,
now.
I think, again, it's quite similar to one of the quotes you mentioned, in terms of trying to focus on the process and not the outcome.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's a really standard one that all
yeah,
coaches and players try and follow.
yeah,
Just keep trying to make those small gains every day and not
yeah, yeah,
focus on the bigger picture.
yeah,
And then there was a quote that I heard years ago. I can't remember where it was. But it says, if you become frightened, instead become inspired. So any kind of challenges that, kind of scare you, whether it's in life or
yeah,
tennis or whatever, try and see them as, a way to overcome adversity, or if they can inspire you instead.
yeah.
So I'd probably say those two were
Okay.
kind of one of the ones that really stuck in my head.
Right. Okay. So, Anna, thank you so much for being a guest on Elite Children, a Family Portrait. I'm sure the listeners and viewers at home can definitely see they're not alone in raising elite level children. Good luck with all your future coaching, all your matches that you're commentating on. We'll
Thank you.
definitely look out for you.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
I think with the stories that you've shared with us today, words like dedication, resilience, hard work, and commitment all spring to mind. So any future projects that you're involved with will be a huge success. So Anna Smith, thank you very much for being on our show today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.